Bienvenido a nuestro programa mientras Omni-Pro Speakers Bureau celebra el mes de la herencia hispana. Mi nombre es Cyndi Wilson. Su afrontilla para esta noche. Tenemos una agenda llena de acción para compartir con ustedes esta noche. So as you know, I am not a native Spanish speaker, but I thought I'd give it a try. So welcome to our program as the Omni-Pro Speaker Bureau celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month. My name is Cyndi Wilson, your host for this evening. We have an action-packed agenda just to share with you tonight. First, you're probably asking yourself, who is the Omni-Pro Speakers Bureau? Well, we are a select group of speakers, trainers, and coaches with diverse talents, skills, styles, and experiences. We are here to talk to you about what we do and introduce ourselves as part of that bureau. We are proudly sponsored by District 83 Toastmasters, a part of Toastmasters International, who is a worldwide group of over 364,000 speakers and leaders in 145 countries. Our Speakers Bureau is committed to bringing leadership and communication skills to you, the people we serve. I'll provide you with more information about booking us to speak with you and your organization a little later. Well, let's get started. Here's our agenda for this evening. Our first activity is a panel discussion, and this discussion will be moderated by Mario Lewis, a member of our bureau. After the panel discussion, we'll have a presentation by Isaak Gelbinovich, our premier speaker. And finally, we will wrap up our evening with you by providing information on how to contact us and tell you more about Toastmasters International. So first, we have some housekeeping rules that I'd like you to remember. We will be muting every attendee who is here, except for the person who is speaking. So if you have any questions, please use the chat function, and our Zoom master and I will monitor it. So let's get started. We have so many people who have come from foreign lands, who have given us their persons, their traditions, their music, their speeches, and their love. Now, my family originated somewhere on the west coast of Africa, but along the way to getting here in the States, they made many stops along some of the islands. So somewhere in my family, there was someone who came from a Latin country, which is why Cyndi is just so motivated and having so much fun, because she really enjoys the music. Yes, soy la negra. And I have a lot of that, excuse the expression, timbao. You just never know what we have. So I'd like to introduce you to our moderator, who is going to run our panel discussion. And his name is Mario Lewis. Now, Mario is an award-winning, energetic speaker and a presentation coach. He provides audiences and individuals with the motivation and strategies to become powerful and dynamic communicators. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Mario Lewis.
Thank you, Cyndi, for that wonderful introduction. It is my pleasure today to serve as a moderator for this Hispanic Heritage Month program. And I will introduce the panelists in a little bit, but it's because I'm excited. I want to share with you a little bit about myself and my personal story as it relates to Hispanic Heritage Month. So at my prior job, I was the president of the ALMA Association, and that was, an acronym stands for the African American and Latino Men's Association. And part of what I had to do as part of my responsibilities was to help coordinate the Hispanic Heritage Month activities in year 2020. And it was an amazing experience for me. See, what we did was that we coordinated programs with senior leaders at the Fed, as well as we had lots of guest speakers speaking on how we can have greater economic and financial equality in the New York district. So we had a lot of senior people come and speak at the Fed, but we also had programs for the employees. And those included music, food, dancing, including like salsa lessons, cooking demos. And it was this amazing celebration of Hispanic heritage during the course of that month. But there were two things that really stuck with me. First, we had a poster that was designed to market the event. One of my friends named Andre Quezada, a Dominican background, he does all of the flyers and all of the marketing for the event. So one of the designs he made was that he put all of the Hispanic flags around the bulletin that showed the different events. What struck me was the large amount of countries and the diversity of the countries that are within the Hispanic countries. And you could see this visual representation by all these flags surrounding by the poster board. So for me, that was a big takeaway. The second big takeaway was the different people who participated in the events who were Federal Reserve employees. And their passion for sharing their culture was breathtaking. We had a salsa event where I was one of the people who presented, and I was dancing and they were showing me moves and I was learning, and it was such a fun event. But then also the live cooking demos. Remember, this was during COVID, so we actually went into saw people in their homes making recipes. They had a tostones competition because what I didn't realize was so many different Spanish cultures have their own versions of tostones. And so people were sharing and comparing cooking techniques and old family recipes. So for me, that was an amazing experience and an amazing takeaway for me to really delve into the depths and the beauty of the different Hispanic cultures. So with that said, let's move in towards our panelists. So I am excited today. I will be interviewing Margarita Estrada and Darlene Blanco, but they'll have a few moments to say, things to say. So I'd like first to introduce Margarita. She is an inspirational speaker, workshop leader, presentation coach who will teach you, the audience, how to summon the power within so that you can speak with confidence. She is also known as the Well-Connected Writer. She is a proud Latina and authored and published a book called Vignettes of a Family Journey in 2018. It is a bilingual memoir that brings awareness to those who are not familiar with Alzheimer's and dementia and its impacts and effects on the family. In addition, her articles have appeared in Fe y Esperanza magazine and on social media. She has also been featured in local newspapers and magazines such as New Jersey Business and has appeared in the highly acclaimed documentary, The Gates, featuring the Central Park installation of artists Christo and Jean-Claude. As a student at Montclair State University, she obtained her BA in communication, and she was a part of the public relations team for Mexican LPGA Hall of Fame golfer Lorena Ochoa. And in 2016, she was awarded the Puerto Rican Woman of the Year for her contributions to Union City Arts. Her mantra is build your arsenal, break the barriers, step up and dare to be the challenger, the initiator, and the change agent you were meant to be. So please put your hands together and welcome me, Miss Margarita Estrada. Floor is yours.
Gracias, Mario, por esa pronunciación tan bella, tan bella. There's the world in which we're born into and the world in which we must assimilate. I am American, born in Jersey City, New Jersey, which I call myself Jersey Rican, and my parents are American, born in Puerto Rico, Boricuas, pure Boricuas. And this in itself creates a problem because even though my parents were born under the American flag, they still considered themselves pure, full-fledged Puerto Ricans, which meant that we were raised Puerto Ricans in our household, which meant that when I went out into the everyday world. I had this Puerto Rican upbringing, and I had to assimilate into the American culture, which is not an easy thing to do. Simple things, such as everybody brought sandwiches to school with Wonder Bread, right? The ham and cheese and Wonder Bread. I brought arroz con pollo, rice and beans and fried chicken to school. And even though I had better food than they did, in my mind, I was not assimilating into the American culture, which meant that I was the subject of many jokes. Oh, all you eat is rice and beans and chicken and so on and so forth, right? So that's normal stuff that kids go through. Luckily, being raised in Jersey City, I was surrounded by all different cultures: Irish, Italian, African-American, Puerto Ricans, of course, and Jewish people. So there was a melting pot. So even though I was going through all of that, it wasn't that serious. So we decide as a family that we're going to acquire a house because we were 5 kids and it was a lot, right? But we didn't have the money for a house. So the way we did it was my dad got 2 jobs. My mother had her job, plus she did something called the kitty, where people put money every week and then each person would get a turn. And then us kids would cut insignias, which are the insignias that the soldiers would use on their jackets. And we would get paid like 25 cents a dozen, like we tied them up. So this is how we somehow built up the money so that we could have a down payment for a house. We moved to West New York, and there we encounter Cubans. Now, my only exposure to Cubans as a kid was Celia Cruz, which is one of my favorite singers. But moving to West New York, I was exposed to the whole Cuban culture. I remember the first day of school as an 8th grader. Aside from learning the Star Spangled Banner, I had to learn Granada, which is a huge song in the Cuban community, even though it's from Spain, but they love the song Granada. And we all had to learn that song. That's how entrenched West New York is in the Cuban culture. Anyway, that is also where I encountered friction as far as things, some words that they would say that are curse words to Puerto Ricans that are not curse words to them. And I won't go into those words because I cannot say this online. But that, needless to say, that caused a lot of friction. But I also learned a lot about the Cuban culture. For example, that Castro was the #1 conversation. And you better not say anything that is pro-Castro, pro-anything. But through all of that, I made my very best friend, Josephine Camps. We've been friends since we were 15 and we're still friends to today. So that's something beautiful that came out of it. So later on, I joined an international open mic poetry group where I met Colombians, Salvadorians, Ecuadorians, and again, exposure to all of these, different cultures. When I started working in New York, that's when my culture as a Puerto Rican the friction came to a head, because I was always taught that I had to put my head down in front of authority. And my boss told me, if you're gonna make it in the corporate culture, you better start looking at people in the eye and express what you want to say. And I found it extremely difficult. And of course, I was a panic attack sufferer, which no one really knew. That was something that I kept secret, right? And so that created an issue. Little by little, I was able to conquer those panic attacks, but it was not an easy thing to do. So what I have learned through this whole experience of the American, Puerto Rican, I finally learned to accept the fact that I am both, and I'm very proud of both, right? I can be Puerto Rican, and yes, very much American as well, and be comfortable with both. And how I came to that conclusion was that when I saw my fellow Puerto Ricans at the island go through Hurricane Maria, Fiona, earthquakes, COVID, and I saw the bravery by which they confronted all of those issues. That's when I said, you know what? I come from good stock, and I'm very proud of both being an American, but I'm also proud of being Puerto Rican too. So that's my experience. Take it away, Mario.
Thank you, Margarita, for sharing Please. I now have the privilege to welcome our second panelist, one of our newest members to Omni-Pro Speakers Bureau. Darlene is the head of workforce and talent development at the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce, where she oversees the Chamber's workforce initiatives to develop high quality and customer-driven workforce development strategies, which is dedicated to transforming how businesses, schools, higher education, and community organizations work together to develop talent pipelines on Staten Island. Darlene is also the founder of Voyage Consulting and Business Solutions. An executive leader with energetic, creative edge, Darlene creates provoking a discovery-driven mindset, helping others develop strategy, innovation, and bring new revenue-generating concepts to life. She is also known for her work in designing, marketing, and Salesforce engagement campaigns, curating customized training solutions and curriculums, and training and leading sales teams. As a certified career coach, Darlene is passionate about helping others ignite their careers. Her volunteer activities include serving as a motivational speaker and delivering customized in-person and virtual curriculums covering career readiness, professionalism, public speaking, and personal branding. Please put your hands together and to please help me welcome Miss Darlene Blanco.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you, Omni-Pro, for the opportunity to be here tonight and celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. What an amazing thing to hear others speaking in my native tongue. I am from Puerto Rican descent, growing up in a household of Spanish speakers. Our Spanish might be a little different cross-culturals, but it happens to be one of the beautiful love languages of the world. And it is so nice to hear everybody trying to learn more about the language in itself. So tonight, I want to talk to you all about what inspires me. And what inspires me, as you've just heard my colleague Margarita talk about the challenges of what it's like to assimilate into culture when you are not from the same cultural background, I want to talk to you a little bit about a special woman's journey, my grandma. My grandma, Victoria Otero Arroyo, I have her right here with me tonight delivering this speech. She is my inspiration. She is my inspiration. She is part of the Puerto Rican Great Migration. She came to Brooklyn and to the US in the 1940s. She came here in hopes of a better life. She came here in tow with 5 children. She came here alone in tow with 5 children. They came here on a boat. Their journey here was definitely not a journey that is similar to a cruise experience, as some of you might think, but it was a difficult journey, but it meant that it was going to be a better life. There were lots of different opportunities being offered and so many contributions that you see happen in the Hispanic culture. They've been recognized for the contributions in World War II, in Vietnam, my father, and also for all of their contributions in manufacturing, in factories, mechanics, warehouses, laborers, all of what make up the fabric of the US working world. They worked hard to become business leaders, government leaders, multiple small business owners, so many amazing families. And as we talk about all the different backgrounds that come together to bring that fabric, that culture all together, it is amazing. I speak about my grandmother because she's special to me in the fact that she came here on a journey by herself in tow with 5 children with hardly any education, a 5th grade education at most. So the way that she had to figure out how to make ends meet was becoming a factory worker, a laborer herself, and also having that side gig that many had because they wanted more opportunity. So they needed to have more than one job. So she was a seamstress and she helped people in the neighborhood sewing dresses and doing all this hands-on work to feed her family. My father, our children, and the other children in the family all had jobs early on. By the time they were about 9 or 10 years old, they were all working and everybody contributed to the household. It's what makes up the fabric of lots of traditional Hispanic homes. But let's talk about something really unique, because someone said to me, I love to learn about new things that maybe I don't know about Hispanics and what the contributions are that they've made. So here are some fun facts that I'd like to share. So did you know that color TV and the upgrade from that black and white television was brought to us by a Hispanic from Mexico, Guillermo Gonzalez Carmera. So thank you, because now we have color TV, or else we'd still be in black and white. How about those earthquakes and that technology for identifying earthquakes? That comes to us from a Chilean professor, Arturo Arguedas Suarez, a scientist that identified the materials that would be used in this earthquake technology to help people and save lives. Yes, believe it or not, cybersecurity. Who knew? CAPTCHA. Luis Von On of Guatemala, he developed our first cybersecurity system utilized everywhere today. And he's a PhD student at Carnegie Mellon University in the 2000s. One of the most important ones, special to me because it saved my uncle's life, you guessed it, the stent. Who knew a vascular radiologist, Julio Palma of Argentina, is known for furthering these advancements made for the stents and for saving people and having them have less heart attacks. So what amazing technology. I'll leave us with a funny one, that contraceptive pill. Yep, Clement Luis Morales of Mexico said, we need some help in this arena. Let's get some contraceptives, please. This is numerous things of contributions that have been made by the Hispanics. And if you notice, I gave their countries to go along with it because the fabric and the inclusivity of the Hispanics and Latinos in the US, they come from all different backgrounds. So I want to talk a little bit about something that's important to me because I never want an event or a talk to go without a plan of action. And one of the things that I found a little troubling was to see that according to the census, 18.5% of the total nation's population happens to be Hispanic Latino. We are the majority. But when it comes to voting, we really aren't doing such a great job there. At a 38.8% voting rate, we need to take a little bit more action and make sure that our voices are being heard for things in the community that we need to advocate for. So I really asked this call to action tonight to be about paying it forward. So recognizing the contributions that are made and continuing that legacy of being a helper to pay it forward. That's why I dedicate this talk to my grandmother, who at 87 years old was hanging out at the senior center, making sure she was doing her part, helping those in wheelchairs because she was still on her feet. And this is at 87, being there to help serve lunch in her community. We also need to pay it forward and help those around us and be that helping person. As we heard Margarita share, sometimes maybe you don't really feel so comfortable. What can you do to make someone in your community feel a little bit more comfortable? How can you be that voice and be helping? And of course, if you are a Latino and a Hispanic, please get out there to the voting polls. November 8th is the big day. We've got a big voice. Let's make it happen. Thank you. I turn it back over to Mario, and I look forward to continuing our session tonight.
Great. Thank you, Margarita. Thank you, Darlene, for your opening comments. What struck me as you were speaking was that you were both strong, powerful Puerto Rican women of Puerto Rican descent. But there is just a uniqueness and difference in your experiences that I want to tease out in today's conversation. And I think that's what it means to understand the diversity and depth and the richness of Hispanic Heritage Month. And I also appreciate your call to action, Darlene. It is critical. And when I was doing some work, I rounded up to 19%, but you were spot on with your metrics. And that is a strong voting bloc, and that it's important for people to get out and vote. But first, I want to dig into both of the conversation for both of you. So can you start out by telling me, what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you individually? Can you start out with, for me, Margarita?
So, Mario, thank you so much for that question. So this time of year reminds me that everything that I do in life rests on the shoulders of my ancestors, right? That because they came here and they worked hard, this struggle and this sacrifice allows me to be with everyone here today. And so celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month is this is what it reminds me of. It connects me with all of those people behind me.
Great. You, Darlene, what does it mean for you?
Celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month just really means for me a reflection about all of these accomplishments and a time where we can not only look back at everything that we've achieved, but to realign and look at the future and look at the direction that we're going. We really have strong and powerful Hispanic Latino leaders now leading the way. And we all need to come together and just remind ourselves how powerful we are when our voices unite and all the different things that we can achieve when we do work better together. You know, one of the themes about our district that we support is being better together. And the theme of Hispanic Heritage Month is a big supporter of that. And it's something that I find very valuable.
Excellent. So now that I understand what it means to you, so how do you celebrate? What activities are you going to do during the course of this month to honor your heritage? I'll start with you, Darlene.
So of course, I've participated in a number of fun cultural events where, yes, there are costumes, there is great dancing, and there's tons of delicious food from all different cultures. As you know, the makeup of Hispanic Heritage Month comes together from all different countries. So I've been to a couple of different events where these things happen. It's great to be a part of the New York, New Jersey area where there's just so much culture. So get involved in your communities and see what events are happening, because I promise you, you will have a good time.
Agreed. Margarita, how about you? How do you celebrate this month?
This is so interesting. So this is actually the first year that I officially celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, because I like to call it Hispanic Heritage Year, because I celebrate my culture every single day in the simple things. For example, when I add onions, garlic, and cilantro and culantro into a sizzling skillet, which we call sofrito, right? Just when you smell all of those spices, I am celebrating all the abuelas, the grandmothers from years and years past that use these same ingredients all the time as the base for their cooking. Similar to like Louisiana, they call it the Trinity, right? Onion, celery, and carrots, right? That's the Louisiana Trinity. Sofrito is it's not Trinity, it's more than a Trinity, but the idea is that it's the basis for our cooking. So every time I cook every day, I'm celebrating my culture. Another way in which I celebrate my culture is the fact that I always try to look good whenever I walk out the door. That's part of the Latina culture too. You go just to throw out the garbage, you better look good, because you don't know who the one you're going to meet. And Darlene is laughing because she knows it's true. You do not walk out not looking good. That's just is part of who we are. The third way in which I celebrate my culture is to read books about people within my culture. For example, I just found out, thanks to Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, that the guy that invented the swivel chair for seniors was Puerto Rican. His name is Pedro Rodriguez, which I did not know. So thanks to this month and the celebration, I'm finding so much more about who I am and also about other cultures as well, which is so much fun.
Great. Thank you for those comments. I think you touched on it already, and I want to delve into a little bit deeper. He says, when I think of heritage and culture, I think of a number of things, probably 5 things: the language, food, the beverages, the music, and the dancing. I think those are symptomatic of what I view as part of your heritage and part of your culture. And I touched upon that a little bit earlier when I talked about when I was one of the co-chairs for Hispanic Heritage Month at the Fed. I want to get to know each one of you a little bit better. So in those different categories, what is your favorite? What is among Hispanic culture? What do you find to be your favorite examples? Margarita, we'll start out with you again.
Okay, so I'd like to start out with my favorite accent, which is Argentinian. And the reason why Argentinian is my favorite accent is because when I was part of the International Open Mic Poetry Group, there was a woman there, her name was Lilia Viega. And every time she would get up to the mic to recite, it sounded like music. And I said, oh my God, I would love to recite poetry the way Lilia does. So one day I get up and I'm reciting my poem. And she calls me afterwards and she tells me, Margarita, you did a good job, but there's only one problem. And I tell her, what, Lilia? She said, you do not roll your R's. And I said, no, Puerto Ricans here, we don't roll our R's. She says, if you're willing to be coached by me, I will teach you how to roll your R's. So I'm going to demonstrate the two exercises that she gave me. So the first one to roll the R's was to go, and so what that does, so you do your higher, your low, left and right, so to loosen the tongue. Next, she gave me a tongue twister, which I still remember, is R con R cigarro, R con R barril. Rápido corren los carros por la vía del ferrocarril. So I had to recite this every single day, every single day. She said, look at yourself in the mirror. 2 weeks later, I go to the Open Mic Poetry Group and I made sure that I picked a poem that had a lot of double R's in it. And Lilia is like going like this. And she's so proud of me that I roll my R's and I just went to her like this, like, I got you, you know? So Argentinian is definitely my favorite accent. As far as the rest of the categories, they're all Christmas related because Christmas is my favorite time of the year when it comes to my culture. Food, pasteles, definitely a favorite. Drink, coquito, again, my favorite. Music, although we hear salsa all year round, my favorite in Christmas time is a folkloric music called aguinaldos. That is like my all-time favorite. And dancing, bomba and plena. So I want to segregate that for a reason. Bomba is similar to the way African Americans use song and spirituals during the Underground Railroad. So bomba was used as that. This is where you need to go. This is what you got to do. So of course nobody knew it, right? But that was like code words. Plena was called the newspaper of Puerto Rico, right? Where you're gossiping on your neighbor, but they don't know it, but you're saying it through a song. That's how plena was used. So those are my favorites.
Awesome, thank you. I feel like we got to know you a lot better. And I think I can identify with you when you talked about the Argentinian accent. When I was in business school, but when I lived in Boston, my first year roommate, his name was Rodrigo Endarte from Cordoba, Argentina. And when he spoke, everybody listened, and all the ladies melted because he had such a rich, strong voice. So it was great hanging out with Rodrigo. He's a great guy. I'll ask you, Darlene, please tell me if you can answer me in those categories. What is your favorites?
Gosh, my favorites. Okay, so one of my all-star favorites is Miss Gloria Estefan, La Cubana. I love La Cubana. I love her not only because she inspires me. The song Get On Your Feet just says it all, right? Get up and make things happen. It's been my mantra. It's something that gets me going. It's on my playlist on the treadmill. I am so grateful for that Cubana and that song because I feel like it's just a reminder that no matter what you're going through in your life, no matter how many different things that you're struggling with, no matter how busy you are and you're figuring out if you can get things done, get up and make it happen. What are you going to do? Just like talk about it, whine about it, cry about it. Just get up and make it happen. And what I love about that also is it's the music piece of it, because she sings the song and she just reminds you that, you know, you can't get away from that beat, right? It's going to get in there. It's going to just take over your body. And she was just something, you know, she's a legacy. She's just amazing. And I just love her contributions and the confidence that she brings. I'm a salsa dancer. I've been a salsa dancer for about 3 years now, taking professional lessons. And it was something that I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. But then I started it and I said, wow, confidence is really in this dance, because no matter what, if I make a misstep, if I fall the wrong way, if I make the wrong turn, if I lose my footing, you know, I have a choice. I can either stop the show or I can just continue on. And it just brings so much confidence to me as a person, and a big part of why I am where I am today and how I keep breaking down barriers and continuing in my career progression. Also want to mention that in my culture in Puerto Rico, we love the party. We love to celebrate. We don't always want the party to end. So for us, it doesn't end at Christmas. It doesn't end at Happy New Year. We drag it out to Three Kings Day because we have a celebration where we want to honor those kings that come and visit our baby Jesus. So it's day 6 into the festivities. So if it's one thing I've also learned from the different cultures coming together, is that wave of happiness, that celebration, that music, that culture, even in hard times, that music will just inspire you and keep you going.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Darlene. I remember also in business school, I did take salsa lessons, and it really helped me to become more a confident dancer. So I attribute a lot of the moves what I have today to some of those lessons that I took. So I can definitely connect with you on that. So one of the things that I think is important for Heritage Month is giving back to our communities. So tell me ways that you intend to, or do you give back to your community as it relates to Hispanic Heritage Month? I'll ask you, Darlene, to start us on that.
Great. I'm very, very big into volunteerism in the community, and the way that I give back is to go back to all of those underserved communities where they do need that additional help and they don't have as many resources to them. In my professional work, we study and we look and we see where are the deficiencies that are happening. Why are certain, brown and, children not making the mark, and just being a part of that framework to have change happen and to bring the facts in and also be on the grounds. That's what's one thing to say things and to do research. It's a whole nother thing to be a part of the mission, to be at the front lines and to really work with students and to see them struggle, because a lot of them are at a disadvantage. They're not coming from prissy little households where English is the dominating language and their parents are educated. A lot of them are just new migrating here, struggling with, trying to get English up and, figure out their place. And it's always going to be a struggle. So being able to, go back to those communities and help them is something I have a lot of passion around, and it's something that I do regularly. I keep a very tight schedule, but it's important, and I want to make sure that we're continuing to advance. And when you look at the population and just how it's kind of tipped a little, they really need extra help and they need that support. And that's something that, especially being here in New York, I have to say, if I don't do something, I'm a part of the problem, and that's kind of where I'm at and how I give back regularly.
Great. And Margarita, I know you do a fair amount of community service, public speaking, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about the theme for this Hispanic Heritage Month, which is called Unidos, Inclusivity for a Stronger Nation. What does that mean to you?
It's a very strong theme and a very important one. However, I feel that the ingredient that will give it legs is acceptance. Within the Hispanic community itself, there is a problem where there's always this competition between Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and so on. Instead of concentrating, well, what makes us the same, right? What can we learn from one another to give each other support to move forward as opposed to this competition? So I love the theme. I fully support it because I feel it is important, but I also feel that it's missing that factor of acceptance that will give it the legs to move forward. And I hope that happens. I really do. I hope that happens, that there's a sense of acceptance by everybody to understand that we're all here, that we all struggle, we all want to achieve the American dream, and we have to encourage those that are behind us and bring them forward so that they can achieve the American dream as well.
Beautiful, and more true words couldn't be spoken. And I really believe that a stronger Hispanic community makes for a stronger American, and makes for stronger all communities. So definitely want to connect. I've got one more question for both of you that I'd like to share. I want to know, I think, Darlene, the way you left us with a call to action, you gave us one already, but I'd say, what do you want our audience to take away from their Hispanic Heritage Month activities? What is the final thing you would want to leave them with?
I just love when people that are from non-Hispanic Latino cultures can take a moment to, recognize the accomplishments and achievements of, other cultures in this way, the Hispanic Latino culture. We get an opportunity every so often to highlight each and every one of these ethnicities for their accomplishments. And like we have African American Heritage Month, like we have so many different things. And if they're saying that we should celebrate it, I think the call to action is, take a minute to find out what the hoopla is all about. Order some empanadas. Try a different restaurant and a different cuisine. Jump into a salsa class. Try to be a part of the fabric. We all are a melting pot here in the US. I love to indulge in all different cultures and backgrounds. Just the other day, I was having Indian food. Then I was at a Greek restaurant. And then I was at, I just love it. And if you're in a city just as diverse as New York, New Jersey, PA, like the surrounding areas that we live in, you do yourself a disservice not to find out what what it's all about. So that's my call to action for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Darlene. And I turn to you, Margarita, with the same question.
What parts of your Hispanic history do you think, right, is important for you to share? I think that it's important for people to understand that we come from generations of hardworking men and women who came here to achieve the American dream, that we are innovators in every field imaginable, and that we believe that keeping our traditions alive. I feel that that's crucial. And I agree with Darlene, the importance of getting to know everybody's culture and dance. And the Colombians, they like to dance la cumbia. And I remember my godfather and my godmother, even though they were raised Puerto Rican, but they loved cumbia, the Colombian music, and that's all you heard in their house. My godfather would take out his scarf and he'd be like, doing this thing, and my godmother would dance around him. So, explore all different kinds of music and dance, and just relish in each other's culture and hold it close to your heart.
Great. Thank you, Margarita. Thank you, Darlene. I want us to give you a moment of just acknowledgement and applause for taking the time to share with us your story, your heritage, your backgrounds, because I believe, again, that makes us all better. So thank you for just investing your time and your talents to share us with your Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'd like to now turn the floor back to Cyndi Wilson, who our host for today, who will take us through the remainder of our program.
Thank you, Mario. And thank you, Darlene and Margarita. Such personal stories, such great stories. We know that we are all from different parts of this world, but each of us make up the whole world. I mean, I have my likes of almojábanos and pan de bono and aguardiente, but not too much aguardiente. Next, I'd like to introduce a very good friend of mine. I've known him for years, Isaak Gelbinovich. He is a professional speaker, a publisher, and an author. He is what we call a master storyteller. And Isaak has a story to tell you today. Isaak, all yours.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you all. As I was listening to everybody, it was interesting how similar we all are. I was born and raised in Georgia, the country, not the state. And I came to this country in 1980. So I am a first generation immigrant. And when I came to this country, it was not easy to adapt and assimilate. Margarita said it's melting pot. Yes, it is. New York is, and America is a melting pot. But the trick is not to disappear in this big soup of America. We need to adapt. Yes, agree. We do learn the language. I didn't speak English when I came to this country. I did learn the language. And I came from a whole different background, not just culturally, but politically. It was a Soviet Union, socialistic and militaristic country. And we all were like homogenous. It was the same basic culture, same basic approach, same basic ideas. Don't stick out, be gray, be the same as everybody else. And I all of a sudden come to a country which says you're an individual, you're unique, do stick out, do show who you are. I was afraid to get into the buildings when I came to America. I thought they're gonna throw me out. The doorman will throw me out. It took me years to realize that he's there to help me, not to throw me out. That's how messed up I was. Here, the mind. So my point is, don't disappear. Keep your culture. Keep who you are. Keep the core. But adapt, accept, and get richer because of this rich country, because of these rich cultures. I never encountered Spanish culture when I was in Soviet Union. It was just none. No Spanish-speaking people, no, not from Spain. They were all Georgian or Russian or Armenian. All of a sudden, I come to New York, and I have all these cultures just dumped on me. And my first actual physical encounter with Spanish culture was a Spanish coffee shop in Manhattan, right across the Empire State Building. It's no longer there, unfortunately. And I learned all the foods very quickly, because when people would come to get their lunch and their dinner, they would say, why don't you speak Spanish? It's a Spanish coffee shop. So I learned how to say para aquí, para afuera, ¿qué quiere para tomar? So all these little things, and then and they accepted me. They would smile. They would know that I'm not a native speaker, but they would smile. And it brings joy to me that I could serve people the right way. So, like I said at the very beginning of my little speech here, we're all different, but we're all similar. And it's very important to be proud of who we are, of our upbringing, who we were and who we are and who we will be. And it was very heartwarming to hear my colleagues, Darlene and Margarita, share their story, because everybody has a story. And they shared a phenomenal, wonderful stories. I know Margarita for years. I know Darlene a little less time, but I didn't know all these details. It was first time I heard a lot of things about Margarita and Darlene. And it actually warms my heart to hear that they did accept who they are. And they're proud of it. Out of 5 people on this screen, we come from like half around the world. Like I joked at the beginning, before we started recording, that we have 2 Latina wonderful ladies, 1 gentleman from Jamaica, 1 African-American lady, and a Jewish white guy from Georgia. What more different can we have? And we all find common ground. We all find a way to work together and help each other in more ways than one. Because I personally feed off of all my colleagues' energy, all my colleagues' wisdom, all my colleagues' different approach to life and different backgrounds. And I say it's phenomenal. It's simply phenomenal. Because we're all different, we're all unique, but we have similar issues, similar problems, and similar ways of dealing with them. So embrace who you are, be proud of who you are, and celebrate, like Margarita said, celebrate your heritage every day of the year. It doesn't matter if it's a month or a week, just celebrate every day of the year, who you are and where you come from. Thank you. Back to you, Cyndi.
Thank you so much, Isaac. It has been a wonderful time that we've had with you this evening. We've spoken about many things in many places, our personal feelings, our deep regrets, our hopes for the future. So today, celebrate. Have a great time with the Hispanic month. And believe me, like Margarita says, it really isn't just 30 days. It's an entire year. It's your entire life. So we're going to try this one more time. Gracias por unirse a nosotros. See, if I try this one time. Nosotros, mientras celebramos las contribuciones y la importancia de hispanos y latinos a los Estados Unidos y aquellos ciudadanos americanos cuyos antepasados provengan de España, México, el Caribe, América Central y América del Sudamericano. La oficina de oradores Omni-Pro está disponible para brindar charlas sobre diversos temas y puede comunicarse con nosotros en la web en omnipro.com o MNIPROSB.com o enviarnos un correo electrónico a omniprosb@gmail.com o MNIPROSB@gmail.com. Se desea convertirte en el mejor orador o líder, explora Toastmasters. Puede explorar nuestro distrito 83 en tm83.org. Nuevamente, gracias y que tengo una excelente noche. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, damas y caballeros.
Thank you all for attending. We really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy it too. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Buenas noches. Good night.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Bye.
Take care.